Hey guys, Moose here. Welcome to another episode of Life is Feudal Forest Village. Right off the bat, I want to apologize. I missed Wednesday's episode. I will explain why. This is something I was going to talk about anyway, so... if you guys don't... I don't recall. I think I talked about it a little bit, but I didn't go too crazy into detail. I had jury duty, so... I had it Monday, then Thursday, but it was a major stress because if I had been selected, it would have been pretty much the last week of May, and then all of June would have been jury duty. So the problem with that is that my employer only covers 10 days. Which in effect would have meant that I would have lost 75% of my income for the month of June. Which, as soon as I realized that, I was already panicking because I was going to be out of work for like a month potentially, and that was going to like really cause problems with our work. My coworkers would have had to pick up a lot of slack, but fortunately they didn't have to. Spoiler, the end of the story here, but yeah, so they're not going to have to. I got out of it, but or I didn't really get out of it, it just didn't happen. But yeah, so pretty much at that point during the week, Tuesday evening, which is when I would have recorded this, and then Wednesday the whole day, I was pretty much working as much as possible to try to catch up on work and get ahead, so that my coworkers wouldn't, like, die, basically, trying to do my job. Because a lot of the stuff they simply can't do. I'm the only one that can program, so if they didn't, like, if I didn't deal with that, they would have never, like, there would be no updates to the file that I made. It would just be what it was, and if there was a bug, too bad. It just wouldn't get fixed. So it was a difficult position, I think, for everyone, pretty much. You know, I think we have too much food, so we can take everyone off. I was looking, we have very few people right now for whatever reason. So yeah, it was really stressful. This has probably been between getting put on second shift to help train someone and the jury duty situation that kind of happened and then disappeared. This is probably the most stressful month I've had in an incredibly long time. Also, Karen was out of town. I think I've said all this before, but just to reiterate, Karen was out of town, so... But she still is, technically, but she'll be back pretty soon here. So I had, like, no support, no help, and I was going through pretty much stressful stuff going on in every aspect of my life. So it sucked. It was really bad. I hated every minute of it, and now I'm free. And it's awesome because I found out I was free from jury duty today, which pretty much solves everything, because the second shift thing's already over. I told my boss basically, like, look, I can't do this anymore. It's killing me. It's stressing me out big time. I need to not be on second shift. And he said, yeah, it's cool. You did what you need to do. She's good to go. The person that I was training, so you're good to go. Just, you know, go back to first shift. Which is fantastic. I'm super happy about that. I don't know if I've actually told my coworker that's happening or not. Doesn't really matter. He's covering a couple morning meetings for me, which is nice. I kind of want him to keep doing that, but he shouldn't, really. I should be taking care of it. There's a lot of info that is not required, but helpful for those meetings that he's not really responsible for, so it's better if I take care of it. Did I just go up? Nah, we'll leave it for... Will we? Yeah, we'll leave it for now. It's fine. They're having enough trouble getting these ones done. I'm not going to push it too much. But yeah, so pretty much what happened was, I went in today, and I was like, okay, I knew since Tuesday that I was going to say, oh, okay, well, based on what my employer will cover, this is now a hardship. It's going to cost me several $1,000s. And most of my income for the month of June, I can't just absorb that loss, so you need to dismiss me. I can't do this. And hopefully the judge would have said, yeah, that makes sense, you're good, just go, you're fine. Hopefully that's what would have happened, but I'll never know, because I went in, I was actually a little bit late, but it's kind of funny that everyone was, not everyone, but the judge kind of deliberately did everything late because there was some stuff going on today, traffic-wise, that caused a lot of issues for everyone. So he was very nice and delayed everything. I mean, he made me wait. For me, he made me wait in the room, basically, for like 2 hours, but I don't really blame him. Actually, it's more like 1 hour. I shouldn't exaggerate. I don't blame him because I prefer that over getting screamed at in a courtroom because I'm late. And I was only late by like 2 minutes or something, but I still was like, no, this is court. You need to be like an hour early. It's like going to the airport. You should not be late for this. Period. Ever. That was my attitude. So, but it didn't matter because he was waiting because he knew traffic was completely horrible, so he was just like, alright, we'll just wait for an hour. And then we just went in, and there were a ton of us, more people than could reasonably fit easily in the courtroom, but we made it work. Everyone's seated, and they basically said, oh yeah, case has been settled, you're dismissed. And then we all got up and left. But it was a really weird experience despite that, because I've never been in court before for any reason, but I've just never been there. So I'm nervous. I'm like, oh, this is really serious, taking it really seriously. Like, hey, this is important. I need to be, making sure I deal with this appropriately. And we're in there, and the case has been settled, right? And this was, I'm not going to get into what it was, but it was a criminal case. That's why it was such a long, it was a serious case. And anything that winds up in court, I think, is a serious case. But this in particular. The guy was accused of doing a bunch of stuff. I don't know if he did it or not. Settling does not mean that he did it, but settling is if he said it's not like you settled in the state. It was the people versus blah blah blah. So it's not like the state just decided, oh yeah, no, you're cool, we'll let you off. So he's going to jail. Or at the very least, he had to flip on someone or something. Like, he had to do something that he did not want to do. Guaranteed. That's what settling is, ultimately. And maybe it's a little bit better of an outcome for him than the alternative, but still, he had to do something he probably wasn't happy about. So, I'm like, hey, oh, they settled, that's great for me, but I'm not gonna smile, I'm not gonna show that I'm happy about that, because that's really shitty to this guy who, whatever he may or may not have done, had just had his life kind of completely fucked over. In some respects, probably. And, did he deserve it? Maybe, I don't know. I wasn't, there was no trial, so I can't say. I have no clue at all. But, this guy just... this is not a good situation for him. This is not a good thing for him. So I'm sitting there trying to be respectful. And the judge was making some jokes, and the other prospective jurors were laughing, and I was a little uncomfortable because I was like, this guy, he might be going to prison now. He's got to sit there and listen to everyone laugh and oh yeah, we don't have to go, and really us getting out of jury duty coincides with him, his fate being sealed, kind of. So that's, real shitty. I felt like that's not an appropriate... I get it, yeah, we're all happy to be out, but he's sitting right there. He was, 5 to 10... probably 5 feet in front of me. He was right there, and everyone around me is, cracking jokes and laughing, the judge saying, hey, traffic's real bad, so avoid these streets, I try to be understanding. And, joking about stuff, and you guys are done, you're free, that's your year, you can't get pulled in the jury service again for a year. And, people are laughing and clapping and celebrating because they can go back to work or home or whatever the fuck, and I felt really bad for the dude. Again, yeah, maybe he's a criminal, I don't know, but still, though. That's kind of fucked up. That's not a small thing for him to be, sentenced to whatever it was. I think they weren't allowed to tell us, so I don't know, but we're out of, We're out of stuff. We're out of wheat. Flour. We're out of flour. That's what it is. It sucked, man. I don't like. It kind of scored. The whole thing. Okay, so I'm not gonna go down this road because this is not an appropriate setting to have this conversation. But I am, I would say, probably an upper middle class white guy. And the defendant in the case was an African-American gentleman about 5 years younger than me. I think. I'm guessing on that, I don't actually know. But, you know, so he was a little younger, and this is something that's come up previously in my life. I live an incredibly sheltered life, I don't go out, I don't really do much outside of the house. I really prefer to kind of just keep to myself and do my own thing. So I'm pretty sheltered. There's a lot of things that go on that I don't know anything about, not knowledgeable about, I don't pay attention to. So part of, you know, being a prospective juror in there is thinking like, well, I got no idea what this guy has got. I have no, like, I can't reasonably even guess at what his life has been like, what he's done or what he's been through. I can't even guess. I have no clue at all. I know nothing, genuinely. I barely know what other, like, there's stuff that other people in my demographic do and know about that I know nothing about, and I can't even, like, it's totally foreign to me. And I've been in situations like that where I've had a conversation with someone, and it's like we're speaking different languages, even though it's both American English, because their life experiences are so completely alien from mine that I don't get it, and they don't get where I'm coming from. So I was already thinking, like, it's... Sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought, but you kind of get, like, what can I reasonably do? Because it affects your judgment, right? And I think I would be impartial and fair and everything, but I haven't got the slightest idea what may be reasonable or unreasonable in this guy's case. Not from, like, a crime and punishment standpoint, but from, like, oh, we're out of flax. Wow, okay. Whoops. That's no problem, we can do flax. But, like, you know, let's say he had an alibi or something, or you say, oh no, I was just doing this or that. There could be completely reasonable things that I have no concept of, because it's just not a world that I've ever been a part of or understood in any way. You know, like, there's areas around here that are like that, where it's just like, I got no idea what's going on over here, this is totally alien to me. And it kind of... I don't know. I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know what even to say, and it's not even purely a racial thing. It is a little bit a racial thing because there's socioeconomic lines that are drawn along race, and it's not good that that's the case, but that is the way. I'm not saying that's the way it should be, but that's the way that it is currently to an extent, and it's naive to suggest that that's not the case, I think. That doesn't mean there aren't white people that are poor, but, you know, the way that society works currently, I think it's more often... I would say that minorities are probably disproportionately represented in the lower economic brackets, I would say. They're more likely to be poor, I think. And I don't think that's because they deserve to be poor. I think that has a lot to do with kind of inherent, not even necessarily active racism, but a lot of kind of inherent and passive racism that goes on. Which is kind of what I was afraid of, like, with me, and that's what I'm talking about. Because how do I... Like, this is all alien to me. How do I know when I'm thinking, or... How do I know when I'm thinking something that's wrong? How do I understand where this person's coming from, what they've been through, and you know, why they think the way they think. How can I put myself in their shoes? Everything that they've been through is totally alien to me. So how could I pass judgment on that person? Some of it is very binary, right? Like, look, if you stole a car, you stole a car. If you shot someone, you shot someone. That's not what he did, or that's not what he allegedly did. I have no idea. I actually didn't exactly get... We were never really given the charges exactly, so I don't really know. But you get the idea. I don't, like, I can't... Some things are binary and easy, some things are not easy. And typically, I think when something goes to trial, it's not easy anymore. Which is why we have verbose laws about this, that, and the other. Why am I trading for wool? I don't want to trade for wool. I don't know. Like, it's a very weird situation for me. And I wasn't sure what or how to think. And then you could say, well... I don't know, like, I kind of feel like almost if anything... I'd like to think if I have any bias right now, it's actually against police because of all the news that's been going on where they're just killing people for fucking no reason. Like, there's been a lot of that going around, particularly targeting African American men. And how does that fit into this? Where does that, I mean, like, that matters. Because this, I mean, this is kind of, it comes down to, do you trust the police? And again, that's kind of alien to me. I have no freaking idea. I've virtually never interacted with them. I don't know. Anyway, the point is, like, I have no idea what to make of any of that stuff. Some of it is simple and direct, like, did this crime get committed by this individual, yes or no? But I feel like it's also more complex than that, and I don't know. I'm glad I don't have to really deal with any of that, but it was good. I think it was probably healthy for me to be exposed to that kind of a thing, at least, to see, like, hey, this is a thing that happens, this is going on. So I've never been inside a courthouse at all. I've never seen any aspect of, like, a real trial. That's not some media frenzy bullshit like O.J. Simpson or something. I don't, like, that's a world that I've never seen or been a part of, and I think I can only benefit from seeing and understanding it more. So, I would encourage you guys, like, if you do get jury service, obviously you don't want to do it, I get it. I didn't want to do it either, but, like, it's good to kind of try to think of things from someone else's point of view a bit, instead of just, like, it's easy to be in there and be like, well, I think he's guilty because if I say that, you're gonna excuse me. Or something like that. I don't respect that. I don't like when people do that. No one, to my knowledge, did that because it never got to that point since this one settled. Which, by the way, I think that's a pretty common, like... I think it's pretty typical to play chicken with that and be like, yeah, we're gonna take it to a jury trial, and then like, once you get down to the wire, okay, here's all the cards on the table, we see, probably if it goes to trial, we're not gonna win, so, okay, here you go. With my extremely limited understanding of the whole process makes me think that's a relatively typical thing to see happen. So we're just going to be out of flax, I think. That's... Until next year, that's just the way that it's going to be here. But yeah, so now that's all over for me anyway. But again, I feel like I don't feel particularly great celebrating that, because the end for me is the beginning of someone else's nightmare. Which is not great, but I don't know, maybe he earned it. What do I know? Maybe he did something horrible and deserves to be in prison, I don't know. That's kind of the problem, is you don't really know. And it's not like I was in the trial and have a good idea, like there was no trial. Which makes me uncomfortable. There's a lot of things about plea deals and settlements that I'm not really... I think they're a good way to intimidate someone into taking a punishment that they maybe don't deserve. And I don't know that that was the case this time. I have no clue at all, but it's still... in general, the idea of it rubs me the wrong way, if that makes sense. But that's a whole nother can of worms I'm not going to get into here. But the nice thing is, I have a 4-day weekend now. I have Friday off, which is today when this video goes live, and I have Monday off because it's Memorial Day. I think, right? This one's Memorial Day? It's not Veterans Day? Yeah, I think it's Memorial Day. But yeah, so I get 2 days off, which is pretty fantastic. And then once Karen's back, I'm going to take a whole bunch more days off because I'm literally, like, miserable, dead tired, and exhausted, and I need rest, big time. I need to not work for a week. So I'm going to find a week, probably sometime June or July, and just... probably 2 weeks, actually. Not consecutive, but 1 week once, and then another week after. Make use of that. Try to relax. I have a lot of trouble relaxing. That's not what I wanted. I did that totally wrong. I'm getting brutal lag. There we go. It's funny that it like lagged while it paused, but then when I unpaused, now it's much better. Anyway, yeah, that's some heavy topics today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I find a lot of that stuff interesting, and I don't really have an answer, so please don't take what I said as like... I don't know if I even made any assertions, I just basically said I don't really know. Which is kind of what I wanted to say, because I don't know. All this stuff is crazy complicated. It goes into social issues that we have in this country and in the world at large that I don't really have an answer for. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to any of it, really. Ultimately, I try to be a decent person, and that's pretty much it. I try to be a decent person. I can't control what other people do. If other people are going to be shitty, then that's, you know, I can't really do anything about that. I'll speak up if I'm there, but I like to keep to myself, so I'm generally not there, unfortunately. But, yeah. The world is not an ideal place for, I would say, almost everyone that has ever lived. It's a reasonably good place for me, and I'm very lucky to be able to say that. And I am under no illusions that that has a lot to do with... 1, I was born male. That helped. 2, I was born to, you know, in a relatively wealthy area. I don't consider myself rich, but compared to a lot of the world, yeah, definitely. First off, anyone in the US, you're rich compared to a lot of the world. Mostly. But 2, California and Silicon Valley in particular, where I'm at, where I was born. Very lucky to be born there. And obviously there's race stuff that goes into it. Point is, I'm very lucky to be who I am. Very lucky to have the advantages I have. And I'm not under any illusions about that. And whether I choose to or not, I benefit from that. I try, and I think I do, successfully not perpetuate that. But I also don't really make any decisions like that, so I don't really have much of a choice in whether or not I perpetuate any of that, because it's not really me. And the other thing is, honestly, well, that's probably a conversation for another time, but something I've noticed is, like, when you deal with people who are a certain way, and I think particularly when you deal with people who are racist, and I imagine this is true for women as well, dealing with people who are sexist and treat them in a way that is not fair. I think sometimes some people, not everyone, but some people are so sick of it, so tired of it, and so frustrated by it, that they react to it preemptively before it has even happened. So I've noticed situations in my life, once or twice, where someone kind of preemptively thought that I was going to be racist or sexist when I was not. And reacting to me in that way obviously put me off. So in the end, they kind of created the same thing they were trying to avoid in the first place. I don't think that happens all the time, but it is definitely something that happens, and I don't blame them for acting that way, because it must be so incredibly exhausting to deal with that shit on a daily basis. It must wear you down so much to deal with people like that constantly. So I don't in any way blame anyone for acting that way. I would probably do that myself, so I'm not gonna sit here and pretend it's someone else's fault if they act that way. It is what it is. But also, you know, if someone's shitty to me, I'm not gonna like them. I'm not gonna blame myself for that either. It's just the unfortunate product of the situation, I would say. Anyway, with that heavy topic aside, thank you very much for watching this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to come by twitch.tv/electronicmoose, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, 6 to 8 p.m. PST, 9 to 11 p.m. EST. Holy crap, how did this get destroyed? That totally screwed up my train of thought. But if you prefer to watch videos here on YouTube, I appreciate that all the same, so thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Take care.